All right, we are live on Facebook, second half of Life Unrehearsed. We have Rachelle and Carole, breast cancer survivors, going to be talking about the amazing story, dragon boat racing, which we see here. I don't know if you can see that. You want to pull one end up on your end? West Island Dragons, I like that. Really good. So, very, very fun and inspiring story. Can't wait to have you. We should be on the air in about another minute. It was related to a commercial they played. Best thing is buy a car shelter and a snowblower to clear the front. Works best for me.
Okay.
They're texting about a commercial. Yeah, so you told them heal the world. You got the Michael Jackson heal the world song coming on to lead us on.
Cool.
Look at this, what, at 4:30 are we now? Almost dark outside.
Yeah. Pressing. Yeah. I'm finding it because of the light and everything. I can't even see David. Can you see him?
Yeah, he's kicking back now. Marco Vendramini, he's our sponsor.
Clients' wealth for the last 27 years. People choose us not only for the competitive
There go Marco.
tax advice, but for the expertise we bring when life events
Should be on right after this
retirement,
commercial.
sale of a business, loss of a loved one, and transition to a retirement home. If you are looking for optimal financial
Yeah, except my
advice
phone's
from a
not
caring
on.
team,
Just remember, it's not.
Marco
It's on.
Vendramini, IG Private Wealth
Really?
Management,
Yeah.
Investors Group Financial Services Incorporated, financial services firm.
At Toyota,
Oh, I got another commercial starting a little later.
2018 Camry with an
Say hello.
incentive of up to
Yeah.
$3,000. But we can't really predict whether your kids will pass their exams this term.
Amy, what's
His
photosynthesis?
logo.
Well, duh.
Yeah, I like that.
Obviously.
Does that go on the boat with you?
All the photos you take with your cell
Or it's
phone.
just for advertising?
Is it waterproof?
Well, we have a few banners that were
Okay.
given to us by BMO, but we mostly bring them when we're proceedings.
All right, here we go. And welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in free retirement home search and senior transition support.
And I'm Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and psychotherapist, specializing in grief and loss.
Corey, such a fun segment with Dania and Erwin on adoption. Really, really a great story there. We have to talk about your workshop coming up next
Yes.
week, right?
Please, for those of you who don't already know, I'm part of an initiative called Camp Erin. It's a free weekend-long bereavement camp for children ages 6 to 17, and what we've started to do with the help of the Rideau Funeral Home and the YMHA is we were offering monthly support groups, and the Rideau Funeral Home was very generous to give us some space and fund a free workshop on November 25th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. It's on Sources Boulevard, and we would love any family who is struggling with a recent or even not recent loss in their family for the children and the caregivers to come out and do some activities, learn different strategies and techniques. We're there for you.
Corey, you're a special person doing these workshops. You are truly amazing, and I've seen firsthand your work, and good for you. Corey, I have to give a shout out to one of our most loyal listeners to Life Unrehearsed, my Auntie Ann Delvecchio. She listens to us every Sunday religiously, and she's listening. Her eyesight isn't the greatest, so she could hear well, and she's at her long-term care home in Lachine. Shout out to Auntie Ann, and shout out to all our listeners of Life Unrehearsed, whether you're listening from home or in your car. Thank you very much for listening. You are the ones that keep Corey and I motivated to try to get some engaging topics week after week, and our next guests are right in that category, Corey, aren't they?
And that's why I say thank you very much to our listeners. Today's topic already, and our next one is absolutely no exception. Carole and Rachelle are dragon boat racers. They also are breast cancer survivors. This team paddles together in celebration of life, to demonstrate that they can be healthy, they can be active, and live life till its fullest after breast cancer. So welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you for having us.
So I'm a bit ignorant when it comes to these kind of things in terms of, I'm not even sure I know what dragon boat racing is. So can you enlighten me and maybe some others?
Sure. Well, dragon boat racing, it's a sport. It's actually considered a canoe sport. There are 20 paddlers in the boat, also consisting of somebody who steers and somebody who actually drums and keeps the rhythm so that we could keep going. So that's it sort of in a nutshell in terms of what the sport is, dragon boat racing, but it's taken on many iterations. Our team, we're called the West Island Dragons, and we are a team of breast cancer survivors who paddle together during the summer and as well as to festivals. And for many of us, it's made a big difference in our lives in terms of moving forward after a cancer diagnosis and treatment.
So all breast cancer survivors, and you're a dragon boat team. When did you get started?
I got started about 6 years ago. About 6 years ago, I found this advertising in the oncology department or something, a doctor's office, and I decided to call because I felt very intimidated, thought they were all athletes, and no, a bunch of very strong women, very willing and powerful women that want to move forward. So I joined and have no regrets.
And you say very strong, and there's the physical strong, but I'm sure a lot more mentally strong.
Very emotional. There's a common thread amongst these women that I've found. Every breast cancer survivor person that I have spoken to all have this common thread of really wanting to cherish life to the max, not focusing so much on breast cancer, but just staying healthy and wanting to share the sport.
So as you mentioned, Matt,
I'll go with anything.
I'll
Right.
give you whatever name you want. Metaphorically, the moving forward. Can we talk more about that?
Sure. Well, as Rachelle mentioned, we don't focus on breast cancer per se when we're together because we're a competitive team and we love the sport and we go to festivals and we compete and it's a grueling sport, but it's awesome. However, it's also a safe place for us to be able to talk about breast cancer if we want to. We don't want to talk about it to our friends and families necessarily. We don't want to talk about medications and mastectomies and lumpectomies and doctor's appointments, but we can with each other, and we know it's a safe place. So that's one aspect that's been really positive for me.
That's Carole and Rachelle, breast cancer survivors that are part of a dragon boat racing team called the West Island Dragons, and there are dragons, and there are many dragon boat racing teams. You have participated in several events. Can you share some of the? I've heard, Rachelle, some of them ones that you have been on. I'm amazed at the support behind dragon boat racing.
We were very excited to participate this summer to a international competition in Florence, which was held in Florence at the Arno River, where there were 4,000 women that were participating at this event. 127 teams from 22 different countries. So the positive energy, the high energy that was at that event was quite moving. Was very, very moving, and all this, again, this common thread of wanting to live life to the fullest after a diagnosis.
The energy that you speak of, I can't even begin to imagine with the numbers you described, how powerful that is. Can you identify for us who are your participants? Who are the racers? Age group?
The racer, if I take Florence as an example, I met this young woman from Ireland, 25 years old, and one of our team members, June, 85, and she wanted to do this this summer, and so she did. So the age varies between, it's all ages, and we've had one woman that was interested. She was 27 years old, No, it's all ages, all walks of life. everything. Yeah.
And when we're in the boat together, the age does not matter.
Right.
We are there to compete together and be together and paddle together.
You mentioned off there also about the criteria in terms of who is eligible to be part of this team.
For sure, to be eligible to be part of our team is to have had a diagnosis of breast cancer. We are also asking for women to be, because the sport is quite intense and technique-wise and strength-wise and all of it. We ask for women to continue to be active, physically active, so that, and it's always recommendations by their oncologists, by their doctors, to continue to be active, so to reduce the risk of the cancer coming back. But it's also very important to be physically active throughout the year to avoid
Injury, I suppose.
hurt, getting hurt.
Right.
So that's very, very important. But the criteria is to be wanting to move forward.
That's lovely. It's amazing to hear, because yes, physical, but you see dragon boats and the racers, and they're all different shapes and sizes, and it's not just for athletes. That's what I love about that. And it also saves lives. And we're going to head out for a traffic update at the CJD Traffic Center, and we're going to hear about how they save lives.
It's so true. There's a tremendous amount of power in the boat.
Oh,
Emotional power, and the personalities are quite strong. All of the women that come in to meet with us, they're most of them vivacious and strong-willed, which can be at times as a captain of the team, a little challenging.
Competitive and
competitive.
I did dragon boat once when I was in Key West with my cousin, because she does it as a sport. Man, that's a tough sport.
Well, we've had to be strong, because we've had to be strong. We've been through treatments.
That's right.
Sure.
And radiation treatments. You build up your strength there, and therefore we get on that boat, and that strength is just transferred, hopefully, into the
we
sport.
have to get that mentioned on it.
Amazing.
And I promised a little close up. This is the West Island Dragons. Close up of Rachelle and Carole, right? Is it Carole?
That's okay.
So great. I mean, this is just one of many, many, many teams out there, right? But this is specific to
Montreal.
3 breast cancer related?
Breast cancer,
really?
Yeah, 3 breast cancer, 2 abreast, as well as synchro. So
it's called 2 abreast.
Yeah, 2 abreast. Yeah, and synchro is S-E-N.
Oh, yeah.
Chronisé,
Okay.
or O. Yeah. And there's 3 teams. The one is in Montreal. We're in Pointe Claire. And the other team is in Machine in Verdun. They practice out of Verdun.
And a lot of it is related to sponsors as well. That you need sponsors, right? So
we need sponsors.
Shout out to sponsors who are listening. This is what we need help with.
We thank our current sponsors for sure. Quebec Breast Cancer Foundation, as well as the Pure Foundation, which are research-based, but because in the last few years have been sponsoring breast cancer teams, because they feel that it is so important to promote that physical activity, because it helps. It's all intertwined together.
And in fact, research is showing that exercise can actually prevent recurrences. So there's been a lot of research that's come out about that.
Exercise.
So they're just right behind us, pushing us forward.
And it's also important just to figure out that we're where do you buy a bra?
Yeah.
You've got a breast missing. Where do you buy a bra? Where do you buy
That's part of
so those are
I mean,
all
after they don't guide you for that, like in the medical.
So there are places. The Cedars has where I was treated. There's can support.
They can.
And they do. They do. And a lot of it is up to you as to how much you want to find.
Right.
Our best
help.
resource is in the boat.
Right, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
that's actually a good point. Sorry, just to we're going to be on about another minute, and then we're at around 4:55-ish, 4:56. We're going to be shout out, thank you, advertorial,
Perfect.
and then we're doing a couple teasers for next week. So the second half is quite short. We have about 5 minutes.
Perfect.
So if there's anything that you really wanted to get out, then we want to make sure to get to.
We need members.
Members, okay. So
Yeah,
you can do that as part of
talk about recruitment. Yeah.
Let's ask that rather than doing maybe instead of training or recruitment. So I'm going to ask a question about recruitment.
We certainly need to talk about recruiting.
Okay, I'm going
Okay, we
to. So
have to
I'm going to
tackle
come back with what am I coming back with? How does it help save lives? And then you can ask
so I
about
can ask about
recruitment.
Do
recruitment.
we want to say save lives and talk about just how what's meant to us? Is that what
Here we
you
go.
want to say?
Yeah.
Corey, you're coming on? Yes.
Welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corey Sirota with my co-host Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking to dragon boat racers Carole and Rachelle. They're also breast cancer survivors who are making a difference through their dragon boat racing. Right before we went out to traffic, we mentioned that you were going to share with us, how does dragon boat racing save lives?
Well, how did it save my life? I can say that meeting this sisterhood of people who understand what you've been through, what we've all been through, saved my life. I say saved my life a little bit in quotations, but in many ways it really did, because I just knew that, as I said before, going to this safe place, doing this amazing sport, getting strong, having fun, learning about different people, learning about our stories, that was life-saving to me.
Thank you. How about you, Rachelle?
Well, it's to understand that if you isolate yourself, the worst possible thing for you to do is to isolate yourself. And this team is not a support group, but they certainly are there. We are all there to support each other in life and death situation, because the other obvious thing that we have in our team is that we have lost 2 teammates this year, which is very, very difficult, but it just makes us that much more determined to continue on. So we're all there for that support as well.
It's very interesting. It's Carole and Rachelle talking to us about their dragon boat racing team, breast cancer survivors for all team members. You talked about support. We were talking off air, and we do want to talk about some resources out there. And I loved your answer. The support where you got the most support is within that boat, and I thought that was wonderful. You know, it's everyone that have gone through different stages, different phases, and you're relying on each other. It's amazing, Corey. I think I mentioned to you before, when this was promoted, this particular show about dragon boat racing, the text we were getting from out of the blue, and you mentioned can support, Cedars Can Support. I know they have a big event in the fall sponsored by Fuller Landau. So my good buddy Steve Dunlop mentioned, Matt, make sure you talk about this Cedars Can Support, and it's true. So you realize how big and how spread out dragon boat racing can mean. And you mentioned you lost 2 members. Sad story. So I would imagine this must be one of your challenges, that you're constantly trying to recruit new members, whether you lose people or not. I guess you always need new members. Isn't that a challenge?
Absolutely it is, because the criteria is to have had breast cancer to begin with. And it's not always easy. So we thank CJAD for allowing us to do this, because this is our way. It's our best way to promote our team and to make people aware that we exist. And we've gotten tremendous amount of calls and emails from various people from exposing our team this way through media, and it certainly is a tremendous help. So
how many team members would you have today, approximately?
Today we have approximately 35.
35.
Some that are non-active, but we have approximately, I would say, 28, 30 members that are active members to this
Nice.
day.
So I'm curious, how many do you need?
Pardon me?
No, I guess
At
there's
any,
never-
at any given practice, there's space for 20 people, really.
Okay.
But there's often through not feeling well, sickness,
Mhm,
vacations in
sure.
the summer, because we practice in the summer. People are on vacation. They have children issues or whatnot. So sometimes we're over that amount, and people will just stand by the sides and watch, and we'll come back halfway through practice and pick up those that have not had the chance to paddle. Because there are too many people for the boat, so everybody gets a chance always.
So what's your training regime then?
We train twice a week in the summer from May until September, and we start practice actually training in January at an indoor basin in Verdun. So we're there until the month of May, and then we have 4 competitions throughout the summer from June until September. The last is always at mid-September. So that's our regime, while encouraging the women to continue working out on a regular basis, to be stronger in the boat.
You mentioned stronger. The strength is unbelievable. And I'm not talking about the strength in their ability to paddle. I'm talking about the strength of spirit that you see here in the studio and you describe as part of your team. It's incredible. It's so inspiring, and you deserve all the recognition and the accolades that I can think of. So tell me, ladies, thank you so much for coming. How
Thank
do
you.
people get involved?
They can Facebook us. We are on Facebook, and my number is there. They can reach me through my email address.
So Facebook as? Can you
West
specify?
Island Dragons.
West,
West Island, les Dragons de l'Ouest de l'Île. We're there. Once we get an interest, I can answer them. I encourage women to call me, so that I can explain exactly what it is, and then from there, we invite them to the first practice, and they can start practicing as soon as January in the basin.
Fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up the coordinates on our Facebook Live page.
Yeah, that's excellent. Life Unrehearsed Facebook page, and if you're watching live right now, you'll see
Yeah.
their big banner proudly displayed. And like you said, it could be for anyone with breast cancer surviving. And thank you both very much, brave
for having
souls, and wish you the best of luck in
Thank
the
you.
upcoming season.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Next week on Life Unrehearsed, tune in to learn some tips on how to navigate the healthcare system.
And Corey, you and I have both been there. We'll also be tackling the challenges of transitioning from couple to parents. You can catch us next Sunday, as you can every Sunday on Life Unrehearsed at 4 p.m. on CJD 800.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Right on.
This is
That was
you.
great.
Very
That was a good show.
Yeah. So hang on, we have to do a very
A little.
Okay, no problem.
promo for
We'll
next
just
week.
say our goodbyes. Great job.
Great job.
Yeah, thank
really,
you.
really
Thank you
inspiring.
so
The whole
much.
show was very inspiring.
Bye.
Thank you all so
Yes,
much.
you'll post it and we'll share it.
And